Riyadh, a sprawling city with sleek glass towers and an ever-changing skyline, a sign of its wealth and power. But the wave of pro-democracy protests across the Middle East and North Africa is seen here as a major source of concern. The Saudis are closely monitoring the mass protests shaking the region. A key ally was toppled in Egypt. A Shiite revolt in neighboring Bahrain, calls for political overhaul in Oman, and Yemen faces an uncertain future. Saudi forces rolling into Bahrain's capital Manama to provide help to the embattled Al Khalifa royal family. The Saudis view the unrest there as an Iranian plot to spread radical Shia ideology and destabilize the region.
Bahrain is not only Shiites. It is almost the Shiites, maybe they are about 50% or about around that, but they have no right to say we will establish an Islamic republic just to copy Iran and to be a puppet of Iran in that in this important part. In Bahrain, to us, it is very important. It is the red line.
Suspicion of Iran runs very deep in the predominantly Sunni kingdom. With its coffers swollen by huge oil revenues, Saudi Arabia is also offering cash to Bahrain and Oman to mute popular discontent. Human rights activists warn that Saudi support for authoritarian rulers in the region may backfire.
Fortunately, they are throwing their power and their authority and their leverage to maintain the status quo. And I do think it's going to survive in the future. But that's not the way you build your own foreign policy.
But the biggest challenge to the Saudi royal family is the unrest in Yemen. Saudi Arabia shares a long, porous border with its poor, volatile neighbor. Their fear is a protracted conflict there could potentially spill over the border. Hashim Al-Bara, Al Jazeera, Riyadh.
Hussein Shabukshi is a journalist with the Saudi-owned Asharq Al-Awsat newspaper. He joins us now live from Jeddah. How immune is Saudi Arabia then to all the upheavals that are shaking so many countries in the region?
Well, I think the GCC in general and Saudi Arabia in particular is playing a progressive leadership role. It's taken some ownership in solving some crises. Bahrain is one example, Yemen is another example. There is a great vacuum, I think, of leadership in the Middle East right now, and the Saudis / the GCC countries are taking over that instead of waiting for events to have a dramatic ending.
There have been some small protests in Bahrain, which you mentioned, in connection with Saudi Arabia's military involvement in that country. How do most Saudis feel about the crackdown that is taking place there and about the involvement of their armed forces?
Well, you use the word crackdown. Some Saudis would like to use another word altogether. They would like to use the word of intervention. By a request of the Bahraini government, the Saudis and the other countries in the GCC Council basically went there to put some calm in the situation, and I think the results of the action proved to be positive. I'm not going to make any judgment right now, but I think the Bahrainis themselves are breathing a sigh of relief. Now they have to take this situation now from a security point of view to a political one, but that's a Bahraini issue altogether. It is not a Saudi issue.
But is the foreign external intervention warranted in this case?
The Bahrainis are the ones who determined that, and I think they made it very clear that there is a security issue. There are external threats that were in place, and that some government and public and private targets were vulnerable, and they wanted some exercise of a clear point in the GCC Council book of rules that in case of such a threat you can invite the GCC army.
Let me just ask you briefly about the situation in Yemen. How concerned do you think will Saudi authorities be about what's going on there and about the prospect of President Ali Abdullah Saleh stepping down? Is it a case of better the devil you know than the devil you don't? Is there real concern about what might lie ahead?
in Yemen's case, there are the question of how many devils do you know? There's a lot of devils over there in Yemen. Yemen is a scenario that scares a lot of people, not just the Saudis. But again, do we deal with an intact Yemen or with a broken Yemen? The scenarios in Yemen are just open-ended, unfortunately. But the Saudis, again, needed to be progressive and proactive at the same time and put a solution on the table before things get out of hand. And I think Ali Abdullah Saleh is going to be very soon part of the history of Yemen. Where Yemen is going to move forward is really up to the Yemenis. Do they see Yemen still as an intact country or not? That is up to them to answer. This is not going to be decided by the Saudis nor by any other country.
Hossein Shabokshi, it's good to talk to you. Thanks very much for joining us.